Before we enter the dark, narrow gates of Holy Week, there's a moment of deceptive light. We call it Palm Sunday, the great entrance of the Lord into Jerusalem. People were shouting Hosanna, which literally means save us, we pray. They were laying down their cloaks and palm branches on the dusty road, treating Jesus like a conquering hero, a king who had finally come to kick out the Roman occupiers and restore the glory of Israel. But look closely at the king. He isn't riding a white stallion or sitting in a golden chariot. He is sitting on a young donkey, the most humble, lowly animal possible. This is the first clash of the week. The people wanted a political revolutionary. Christ gave them a prince of peace. They wanted someone to change their government. He came to change their hearts. In the Orthodox tradition, we hold green branches during this service, but we know the secret that the crowd in Jerusalem didn't know yet. We know that the same voices shouting Hosanna on Sunday will be shouting Crucify Him by Friday. Palm Sunday is a mirror. It asks us, do we love Christ only when He is winning, or will we stay with Him when the road leads to the cross? This is the calm before the storm, the brief moment of glory before we step into the most intense, transformative 7 days of the year. As the sun sets on Palm Sunday, the tone of the church changes completely. The bright gold vestments are put away, replaced by deep purple or black. The lights are dimmed. We enter the first of the Bridegroom services. It seems like a strange title for a man about to be executed, but in the church's eyes, Christ is the groom coming to give his life for his bride, the human soul. The main theme of Holy Monday is authenticity. The Gospel tells the story of Jesus walking from Bethany to Jerusalem. He is hungry and sees a fig tree in the distance. The tree is covered in lush green leaves, which usually signals that there should be fruit. But when Jesus gets closer, he finds nothing but leaves. He curses the tree, saying, "Let no fruit grow on you ever again," and the tree withers away immediately. To a modern reader, this might look like Jesus is just hangry or having a bad day, but in the Orthodox tradition, this is a powerful, living parable. The fig tree represents the soul, and specifically the soul of a religious person. The leaves represent the external stuff, the long prayers, the fasting, the church attendance, the Christian aesthetic. It looks great from a distance, but when Christ comes close, he is looking for fruit, humility, genuine love, mercy, and a changed heart. Holy Monday is a wake-up call. It forces us to ask, am I just a tree with leaves? Am I just pretending to be spiritual because it looks good on my personal brand? Or am I actually producing the fruit of the Spirit? The withered tree is a warning that spiritual hypocrisy is a dead end. It's a day to strip away the masks we wear. Alongside the fig tree, we remember Joseph the All-Comely from the Old Testament. You probably know his story. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, falsely accused of a crime, and ending up in an Egyptian prison. Joseph is a type or a shadow of Christ. Like Jesus, he was betrayed by his own people, yet he didn't hold a grudge. He stayed pure in a corrupt world. Eventually, he rose to power and saved the very brothers who tried to kill him. On Holy Monday, Joseph stands as the example of what a fruit-bearing soul looks like, someone who remains faithful and full of love, even when the world is throwing them into a pit.
If Monday was about being authentic, Holy Tuesday is about being ready. The services continue with the theme of the bridegroom, but the focus shifts to the famous parable of the 10 virgins. In the story, 10 bridesmaids are waiting for a bridegroom to arrive for a wedding feast. It's midnight. 5 are wise and 5 are foolish. They all have lamps, but only the 5 wise ones brought extra oil. When the cry goes out, "Behold, the bridegroom comes," the foolish virgins realize their lamps are going out. They try to borrow oil, but there isn't enough. By the time they go to buy more, the bridegroom has arrived, the doors to the feast are shut, and they are left outside in the dark. This parable is the heartbeat of Holy Tuesday. In the Orthodox Church, we sing a hauntingly beautiful hymn. Behold, the bridegroom comes at midnight, and blessed is the servant whom he shall find watching. What does this mean for us? The midnight represents the end of our lives or the end of the world, the moment when we finally stand face to face with truth. The oil in the lamps is the most important symbol. It is the grace of the Holy Spirit acquired through acts of mercy. In Greek, the word for mercy, eleos, sounds very similar to the word for oil, elion. The message of Holy Tuesday is that you cannot borrow someone else's relationship with God at the last minute. You can't rely on your parents' faith, your spouse's prayers, or the fact that you belong to a good church. You have to have your own oil. You have to have a living, breathing connection with the divine that you've cultivated through a lifetime of small, quiet acts of love and prayer. The tragedy of the foolish virgins isn't that they were evil people, it's that they were distracted. They assumed they had more time. They let their lamps go dry because they were too busy with the noise of life. Holy Tuesday is the church saying to us, stop scrolling, stop drifting, wake up. We are invited to watch and pray because we don't know when the midnight of our lives will come. We also read the parable of the talents on this day. It's the story of a master who gives his servants different amounts of money, talents, to invest while he is away. 2 servants work hard and double the money. 1 servant is paralyzed by fear, buries his talent in the ground, and gives back exactly what he started with. This is the second punch of Holy Tuesday. God has given every single one of us a talent, a unique gift, a personality, a set of resources. The only sin in the story is stagnation. Burying your talent means living a life where you never grow, never risk anything for love, and never use what you've been given to help others. The master doesn't care about the amount of the talent, he cares about the faithfulness of the servant. Holy Tuesday is an invitation to spiritual investment. It's about taking the raw materials of your life, your time, your energy, your social media platform, your money, and turning them into something that has eternal value. It's the day of watchfulness, what the Greeks call nepsis. It's the day we realize that every moment is an opportunity to either fill our lamps with oil or let them burn out in the wind of the world. As we finish these first 2 days, the atmosphere is heavy but purposeful. We have stripped away our masks, Monday, and we have woken up from our spiritual sleep, Tuesday. We are now prepared for the turning point of Wednesday, where the themes of love and betrayal finally collide. If the first 2 days of Holy Week were about waking up, Holy Wednesday is the day where the cosmic battle between love and greed finally comes to a head. It is a day of extreme, jarring contrasts. On one side, we have a woman who is a sinner but acts with total, reckless love. On the other side, we have an apostle, one of the inner circle, who acts with cold, calculated betrayal. In the Orthodox tradition, this day is centered on a specific event. A woman comes to Christ while he is eating at a house in Bethany. She brings an alabaster jar of incredibly expensive myrrh that cost a lot. She doesn't just pour a little bit on his head, she put all the jar. She pours the entire thing over him, and then, in a gesture of absolute humility, she wipes his feet with her hair. The whole house is filled with the scent of the perfume. Think about the optics of this for a moment. To the disciples, this looked like a total waste. It looked unchristian by their standards. And it is Judas Iscariot who speaks up first. He says, "Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor?"
On the surface, Judas sounds like the virtuous one. He sounds like the one who cares about social justice and practical charity. But the gospel is blunt. He didn't care about the poor. He was a thief who wanted to control the money bag. This is the great clash of Wednesday. The woman represents love without calculation. She didn't ask, how much is too much? She didn't think about her future or her reputation. She gave everything she had to the person she loved. Judas represents love with a price tag. He represents the spiritual person who is always calculating, always checking the budget, and always looking for what he can get out of the deal. On this same day, Judas goes to the high priests and asks the most chilling question in history. What will you give me if I deliver him to you? They offer him 30 pieces of silver, the price of a common slave. This is why, in the Orthodox tradition, Wednesday is a day of fasting every single week. We fast on Wednesday to remember the betrayal, to ask ourselves, at what price would I sell my conscience? What is my 30 pieces of silver? To heal this sickness of betrayal that lives in all of us, many Orthodox churches perform the service of Holy Unction on Wednesday. We are all anointed with blessed oil. Why? Because the church realizes that we are all spiritually sick. Like the woman, we need the oil of mercy. Like Judas, we are prone to greed and betrayal. We don't come to the oil because we are good. We come because we are broken, and we need the physician of our souls to touch us before we enter the darkness of the Passion. As we move into Great and Holy Thursday, the public part of the week is over. Christ is no longer teaching the crowds. He is in the upper room with his 12 friends. The atmosphere is heavy, intimate, and supernatural. This is the day of the mystical supper, what many call the Last Supper, and it changes everything we know about power and communion. The evening begins with a shock. Before they sit down to eat, Jesus, the creator of the universe, stands up, takes off his outer robe, wraps a towel around his waist, and begins to wash the feet of his disciples. In the ancient world, this was the job of the lowest slave. It was dirty work. The disciples are horrified. Peter even tries to stop him, saying, "You shall not wash my feet." But Jesus insists. He shows them that in his kingdom, the leader is the servant. He rebrands power. To have power in Christ's world isn't to sit on a throne, it's to pick up the towel. This is the mandatum, the new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. By washing their feet, Christ is preparing them for the ultimate act of washing, the shedding of his blood on the cross. And remember, he even washed the feet of Judas. He knelt before the man who had already sold him for silver. That is the depth of the humility we are invited into on Thursday. Then they sit at the table. This is the moment the Orthodox Church lives for in every single liturgy. Jesus takes bread, blesses it, breaks it, and says, "Take and eat. This is my body." He takes the cup of wine and says, "Drink of it, all of you. This is my blood." For an Orthodox Christian, this isn't just a nice symbol or a reenactment of a historical meal. We believe that on Holy Thursday, Christ instituted a new covenant. He offered a way for us to literally become one with him. By eating his body and drinking his blood, we are no longer just followers of a teacher. We become partakers of the divine nature. Thursday is the birthday of the Eucharist. It is the day we realize that God doesn't want to just be with us. He wants to live inside of us. But the night doesn't end with the beautiful meal. It ends in the dark. They go out to the Garden of Gethsemane, while the disciples, the same ones who promised to die for him, sleep. Christ is wrestling with the weight of the world's darkness. He is sweating drops of blood. He is asking the Father if this cup can pass from him, but ultimately says, "Not my will, but yours be done." As you remember, on Monday and Tuesday we talked about being authentic and ready. Here, in the garden, Christ shows us how to actually do it. He surrenders his human will to the divine will. Then comes the kiss. Judas arrives with a mob. He uses a sign of love, a kiss, to identify the one to be killed. The clinking of silver from Wednesday has turned into the clashing of swords on Thursday night. Jesus is arrested, abandoned by his friends, and led away into the night of the trials. On Thursday night, we stand in the church for a very long service called the 12 Passion Gospels. We stand with candles in our hands as we listen to the entire story of the betrayal, the trial, and the journey to the cross. We are no longer spectators. We are there, in the garden, in the courtyard of the high priest, hearing the rooster crow as Peter denies him. Thursday is the day of communion and humility. It tells us that to take the bread of life, we must first give ourselves in service. We cannot have the resurrection without the Gethsemane of surrender.
If Holy Week were a symphony, Great and Holy Friday would be the moment the music stops entirely, replaced by a haunting, heavy silence. This is the darkest day in the history of the universe, the day that the creator of life was put to death by his own creation. In the Orthodox tradition, this isn't just a historical commemoration, it is a funeral. We don't just remember the crucifixion, we stand at the foot of the cross in real time. The day begins in the early hours of the morning with the royal hours. We read the prophecies of Isaiah about the suffering servant who was led like a lamb to the slaughter. We see the jarring contrast. The one who clothed the sky with clouds is now stripped naked. The one who fed the multitudes with 5 loaves is now given vinegar to drink. The one who gave life to the dead is now being nailed to a tree. Around mid-afternoon, the hour Christ breathed his last, the most poignant service of the year takes place, the Vespers of the Unnailing. We see that a large, beautifully embroidered cloth icon called the Epitaphios or Plastchnitsa is brought out. It depicts Christ lying in the tomb. The atmosphere is one of absolute mourning. We process with the Epitaphios, carrying it like a coffin while the bells toll a funeral knell. But here is the Orthodox twist. Even in the middle of this funeral, there is a glimmer of victory. We call it the royal passion. We don't see Christ as a helpless victim. We see him as a king who is voluntarily invading the territory of death to destroy it from the inside. But why did this have to happen? Why the cross? In the modern world, we often try to sanitize suffering or explain it away. But Holy Friday stares suffering directly in the face. The cross is the ultimate answer to the question, where is God when it hurts? The answer is, he is right there, hurting with you. By dying, Christ didn't just pay a debt, he entered into the loneliest, darkest place of the human experience, death, so that no human being would ever have to be alone there again. Friday is a day of total fast. It is a day of silence. We don't listen to music, we don't scroll through news, we don't engage in the noise of the world. We simply stay at the tomb. We wait. We watch. He didn't stay because the nails were strong. He stayed because his love for us was stronger than death itself. Holy Saturday is the most mysterious and misunderstood day of the entire year. To the outside world, Saturday looks like a nothing day, a day of waiting for the resurrection. But in the Orthodox tradition, Saturday is the most active day of all. While Christ's body lay still in the tomb, guarded by Roman soldiers, his soul descended into the depths of Hades, the realm of the dead. This wasn't a passive visit, it was a cosmic rescue mission.
Imagine a high-security prison where every prisoner since the beginning of time has been locked away with no hope of escape. Suddenly, the gates are kicked down. Light floods the darkness. The one who cannot be contained by death has walked in and broken the bronze gates and iron bars. In the Orthodox icon of the resurrection, Christ isn't just standing by an empty tomb, he is standing on the broken gates of hell, reaching down and pulling Adam and Eve out of their graves. He is dragging humanity out of the darkness by their wrists. This is the blessed Sabbath. The liturgy on Saturday morning is unique. It begins in dark vestments in the atmosphere of the tomb, but halfway through, something incredible happens. The choir stops singing the somber funeral hymns. At that moment, the priests strip off their black or purple robes and reveal shining white vestments. It is the first spark of the resurrection. It is a secret victory. The world doesn't know it yet. The disciples are still hiding in fear. The Pharisees think they've won, but deep in the foundations of reality, death has already been defeated. Saturday is a day of luminous sorrow. We are still fasting, we are still quiet, but there is an underlying joy that is starting to bubble up. It's the feeling of a secret that is too good to keep. It tells us that even when things look dead in our lives, when our dreams are buried, when our hearts are cold, when it seems like the bad guys have won, God is working in the secret places. He is breaking the gates of our personal hells, even if we can't see the light yet. Holy Saturday is the bridge. It connects the cross to the empty tomb. It teaches us how to live in the in-between. Most of our lives are lived on Holy Saturday, in that space where the tragedy has happened, but the miracle hasn't quite arrived yet. As the sun sets on Saturday, we prepare for the midnight office. The church is pitch black. The fire has gone. We are standing in the total darkness of the tomb, waiting for the one single flame that will change the world forever.
And now it is 11 p.m. on Saturday night. The church is as dark as a tomb. All the candles have been extinguished, the electricity is off, and the only thing you can hear is the soft, rhythmic chanting of the midnight office. The atmosphere is heavy with anticipation, but it is a different kind of heaviness than we felt on Friday. This is the tension of a spring that is about to be released. We are standing in the absolute silence of the grave, waiting for the spark that will change the universe. Suddenly, the chanting stops. Total silence. Then, behind the closed royal doors of the altar, a single flame appears. The priest comes out, holding a triple-branched candle, and he sings a melody that pierces the darkness. One by one, people step forward. The flame from the priest's candle is passed to the person in the front row, then to the next and the next. In a matter of minutes, a church that was pitch black is now glowing with 1,000 points of fire. This isn't just a pretty ceremony, it is a physical manifestation of what happened in the depths of Hades. The light has entered the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. We are no longer just watching a story, we are carrying the victory of God in our own hands. We don't stay inside the church, like the myrrh-bearing women who ran to the tomb in the early hours of the morning. We go outside. We stop in front of the closed doors of the church. This is the climax of the drama. The priest stands before the doors and shouts for the first time, "Christ is risen!" And the crowd roars back, "Truly, he is risen!" Inside, the church has been transformed. Everything is draped in bright white and gold. The air is thick with the scent of incense and flowers. The choir isn't singing somber hymns anymore. They are chanting the Paschal Canon of St. John of Damascus, a masterpiece of spiritual poetry that celebrates the Passover from death to life. The centerpiece of this night is the Paschal Sermon of St. John Chrysostom.
It is read at every Orthodox Pascha service, and it is perhaps the most generous text ever written. It is an invitation to everyone. St. John says, "You who have fasted from the first hour, receive today your just reward. You who have come only at the 11th hour, do not be afraid because of your delay." He tells us that the table is full. The fatted calf is ready. No one should go away hungry. No one should weep for their poverty, because the kingdom is open to all. No one should fear death, for the death of the Savior has set us free. It doesn't matter if you were a perfect Orthodox Christian this Lent, or if you failed at every single fast and prayer. On this night, Christ's victory is so massive that it covers everyone. The Master is generous, and he welcomes the last as well as the first. When we finally approach the chalice for communion in the early hours of the morning, it is the most profound moment of the year. We are eating the life. We are partaking in the resurrection. But the celebration doesn't stop when the sun comes up. On Sunday afternoon, we gather again for the Vespers. The most striking part of this service is the reading of the Gospel, John chapter 20, verses 19 to 25. It describes Jesus appearing to his disciples behind closed doors and saying, "Peace be with you." In the Orthodox tradition, we read this Gospel in as many languages as possible: Greek, Latin, English, Slavonic, French, Swahili, Chinese, Spanish, even sign language. The Paschal season lasts for 40 days. For 40 days, we don't say hello, we say Christ is risen. We don't kneel in church because we are risen with him. We live in the 8th day, the day that has no evening. We have seen the light, we have received the heavenly Spirit, and we have found the true faith. The week started with a withered fig tree and a midnight joy to wake up. It ended with the total destruction of the only enemy humanity could never defeat, death. The tomb is empty, the chains are broken, the feast is ready. Christ is risen.